Welcome back, WNST Towson, Baltimore, and WNST.net. One of the things I love about our breezy little format here at WNST is I get the opportunity to chat with other journalists about all sorts of bizarre and weird things in the world of sports. And, things come to my desk. And for those of you who have listened for a quarter of a century, I talk tennis from time to time. I'm not deep into the heart of Wimbledon or the U.S. Open or the French. And quite frankly, many of these things take place during other times of the year when other things happen, but I do like tennis, and of all the sports that I would say I excelled at or played as a kid, I played a lot of Little League baseball, I played Little League football, as I've talked with John Rollo, I wrestled in high school, but tennis was the sport that I played. I was never a golf guy, still not a golf guy, although I can hit a ball because it doesn't move, but tennis would be something that I always talk about. If my knees were better, if I felt better about my elbow and my shoulder and didn't feel like walking around with my arm in a sling, I may go out and play 2 or 3 sets. This guy picked up tennis, I don't want to say late into his life because I'm sure he still feels like a young old-timer at this point. He is a former editor of the New York Times Magazine, a tennis writer for NewYorker.com, and has written a book. It's called Late to the Ball, Age, Learn, Fight, Love, Play Tennis, and Win. His name is Jerry Maserati. It's spelled Marzorati, and you can find him out on Twitter at Marzo, Marzo Tennis, as well as Googling Late to the Ball. And if you're going to buy that out on Amazon, we'd love for you to do it through our Give a Spit app. So our charity, There Goes My Hero, makes a few beans. Jerry, welcome in, man. Happy tennis. Back end of French Open, front end of Wimbledon. It's springtime, and it's a great time to go, pick up a racket and hit a ball early in the morning, right?
That's right. It's it depends on where you are, I guess, but it is the time to move outdoors with a tennis racket, which I've just started to do, actually, after a winter indoors.
Well, give me your story because, first off, you're a journalist, and look, I've read the New York Times Magazine. I'm a big fan of long form. I don't do anything short. I'm tough in 140 characters, But all that being said, I've written books. I've been long-winded. I know Joe Posnanski, famous sports writer, calls his posts curiously long. I tend to roll that way when I do write, and I think on my grave it'll say writer, and I think we all choose to write about things, right? I've written about my wife's leukemia journey. I've written about how Peter Angelos has completely screwed Baltimore and stolen billions of dollars here. I've had my press credential taken away, therefore I'm legitimate. But then, you want to write a book about something off the beaten path, and tennis is something you fell in love with later in your life, but not just as a fan, but something you decided to start playing, which is really, really odd, but is something that I think is inspiring.
Yeah, I think you hit that point, let's call it late middle age. There's more of your career behind you than in front of you. The nest is emptying. My kids were not quite out of the house, but at that stage where you were lucky to get them to dinner 3 times a week. They had their own lives.
And even when you did, they didn't want to talk to you anyway.
Yeah, there you go. They just they just wanted to open your wallet occasionally.
Dude, I don't know how families do it now with mobile phones at the table. My wife and I go out for a romantic dinner, and 10 minutes into it, we're eating the bread, and we're both checking our phones.
That's true. I was just a little. They were just a little before that stage. But anyway, I decided, I needed something new to do when these Saturday afternoons no longer were occupied by traveling Little League baseball or something, that I really needed. That they were starting to yawn, and I just needed some new thing to do with my life. And I had been a tennis fan all my life, but I grew up in a blue-collar Jersey town. We didn't have tennis clubs.
You probably played baseball and basketball, right?
Yeah, I sat baseball and basketball.
Okay.
I tried, but I was the skinniest, shortest guy, in my class, and I would have loved to have been an athlete, but it just wasn't in the cards. I loved to play, but I just didn't play well
I'm working
enough.
On my 47th year of being an athletic supporter myself, Jerry. I am.
Well, the truth is that I just thought tennis. Tennis is something I love to watch. I thought it was elegant and beautiful, and it was something you could do on your own, and but I wanted to learn the right way to do it. I just didn't want to go and pat balls back and forth at a club, and so I went and got myself a coach, which may seem like an indulgence, but, everybody's got their indulgences.
Well, if you're going to do it, you want to do it well. I mean, I can sit here and strum the guitar, but it'd be a hell of a lot better if somebody told me how to do it, right?
Exactly. And if there's a right way to do something, it's a right way to do it not only because it'll get you the best results, but it'll keep you from getting injured. So,
I did that with golf in my early 20s. I had never picked up a golf club because I didn't grow up a rich kid either, and I swung a baseball bat. The difference between one and the other, I never would have hit a golf ball properly if I weren't instructed.
Exactly. You have to have somebody, and for me, it became a kind of a relationship that this guy, like I always was kept on teams when I was in high school because I was coachable, right? I was the guy who remembered plays and did that kind of stuff so that I was good in practice. I would be the guy who the regular players would practice against.
Scout team is what we call it.
Yeah, So I actually, liked being coached, and I had this young tennis player. He's a great tennis player. He'd been a college All-American, and I responded to it. He'd yell at me, he'd push me hard, he'd do all these things, and it became this thing in my life. And after a couple of years of that, I thought, well, just how good can I get? I'm turning 60. There are these senior leagues, and
well, hold on. When's the first time you picked it up? Let's start with that.
I was 55, 56.
You were 55. You never picked up a racket as a kid, or did you?
Well, I think I had a college roommate who, I think once or twice we went to hit because he had rackets and he was a tennis player, but that wasn't tennis. I mean, he was just, he got to be better than me, so the women would look at him. But this was really the first time I ever actually played,
Right.
and it's really hard to learn something at that age. It's really hard.
See, my wife is 44, and she knows I can play tennis, but I don't play ever or often, but I played every day as a kid. I think it'd be duck to water. She's afraid to go hit with me because she has never played, but would like to play, honestly. I mean, if my wife and I, in our aging, we would not be golfers. I don't like it. It's too slow. It's not physical enough.
That's right.
I just don't like it. I mean, I don't like grass. I don't like the woods,
my wife, it was in the verbal prenup. Like, she just looked at golf as a child avoidance.
But golf is something that people 55 do go out and try to figure out. As I always say, how hard can it be? The ball doesn't move. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But with tennis, you see older people and seniors play, but I never think of, like, when did they start playing? I always look at it as, like, if I see a 60-year-old guy dribbling a basketball, I'm kind of assuming he did it when he was 12, kind of.
Yeah, I think you can assume that about tennis, too. Most of those guys started playing young. And, look, the truth is, it is better to start anything young. You get the footwork down, you get the confidence up, you get all that stuff. So, if you have a kid and the kid's got an interest in tennis, by all means, don't wait until they're 55 to start playing tennis. But the thing is, you can learn it if you have the time and if you have the willpower to, here's my thing. When you're a kid and you're trying to be an athlete, right? You're 13. That's a big part of your identity, right? Like, that's who you are in your school. That's who you are to your pals. That's who you are to the girls, or vice versa.
Winning defines you, right? Or your athletic prowess.
When you're 55, you have another life, or you better, right?
I hope.
Nobody is watching you play at 55. Here's the thing about being 55. Nobody's watching you do anything. Nobody cares about you anymore. So just go out there, have some fun, and get better at something. And honestly, it doesn't have to be tennis. It could be golf. It could be, hiking or whatever it is that turns you on. But the thing is, you don't have to be self-conscious about it. Nobody's paying attention to you, and you've got another life. Tennis is a big part of my life now, but it's not my life. It's not life.
But what made you write a book about it? I mean, let's start with the fact that you were an editor in New York Times Magazine. You've been into words your whole life. I've been into words my whole life as a writer as well. I understand that part. And anytime I have an author on, I mean, I've written 4 books, Jerry, and each one of them was this wonderful beer idea, right? It's beer talk at 11 o'clock. I'm going to write a book. And then the next day you start scribbling stuff down. And then at some point you get into it, and you probably get 10 or 20% into it. And And it's probably like trying to get down the field running the ball in a football game. You look and you're like, I know there's an end zone there somewhere, but how the hell am I going to get there?
Yeah.
And this is a long project. And when
it's a long
and writing, and my wife, I've written 2 books in my marriage over the last 13 years, and my wife would tell you it is the single most solitary thing and I'm such a type A, gregarious, outgoing people guy, and writing is such a stick in your room, don't answer your phone, don't bother me, don't bring me coffee, don't interrupt me. It's almost like method acting, right? You know?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, here's what I think. I think that to be 55 or 60 today is a very different thing than it was for my dad and my grandfather, right? It's
sure.
like if you've not smoked and taken relatively good care of yourself, like the numbers don't lie. Like you're gonna live longer, and you're gonna spend more of that time kind of in pretty good shape, right?
Sure.
And you've got some time on your hands now. You got, if you've had kids, the kids they're gone, they're out of the house, they're growing up. What are you going to do with that time? And I think it was more, that was the impetus for writing the book, that for my generation, they're going to have this time, and they're going to need another something, another journey, another quest, another thing to do that they get deeply engaged in. And I really believe, and this is the key, there is something about improving at anything in your 60s that is just fantastic. I mean, you're diminishing in so many ways, and there's so much more loss around you. You know, your mother's dying, your friends are dying, whatever, that if you can find something to improve at, you control that. It's my narrative. I'm improving at this thing. And, that is just a great feeling, a great kind of counter to a lot of the stuff going down around.
Well, you also identify it better when you're older. You see and identify honestly, truly honestly, hey, I'm getting better at this. I'm enjoying this more. And I think when you get older, you disseminate. When you wake up in the morning, you say, how do I want to spend my day? Not how someone's going to judge me about how I spent my day.
That's
how
right.
do I really want to spend my day? And to your point, finding something you can get better at. I've picked up the guitar a couple of times, right? And I love music, and I've written about music, and I've interviewed musicians, and I've strummed around on a guitar, but I'm also very pragmatic, man. I could never learn to play the piano. I just don't think I have an aptitude for it. I think I could learn to play the guitar, but it would be one of those solitary, sit in a room, be frustrated, do things wrong, hit sour notes, but then don't judge it so you can hit a better note. I think that's easier to do when you get older.
I think you're more forgiving of yourself, and there's not a parent in the other room saying you're not practicing enough, and there's nobody. You're your own. You're the person that's going to provide the drive for you. There's nobody else that's going to have that sort of impetus or whatever. Like, it's up to you. And the other thing about it is, for me, I have long and deep, abiding friendships with guys I've known 30, 35, 40 years. But there's a way that you create friends through something like playing tennis that's different. And it really reminded me of having teenage buddies and teammates when I was in high school. There's a kind of camaraderie you have. These aren't guys who are asking you how things are going at work. These aren't guys who are asking you how things are going in your marriage. These aren't guys who are asking.
Well, you don't talk as much playing tennis as you do. Like, golf is this total thing where you bitch about everything and talk about politics and have a beer. Tennis, man, you're just trying to catch your breath and figure out how to get your backhand rolling for the most part.
But these guys have become a big part of my life. I spend every weekend with them, hours with them every weekend. And it's just really fun. Like, we play some tennis, we go have a beer afterwards, we do that kind of thing. And it's a different level of friendship. It's not superficial. And I think it's actually a lie. I've talked about this with my wife. Women, it's different for women. Their friendships are much deeper and more emotionally entangled. I realized I'd missed having those kind of just buddies, So just guys.
I think the thing about tennis, though, you have to find somebody that you're compatible. Again, back to me and my wife. She's afraid if we went out on a court, she could sort of never catch up to even make it fun for me.
Yeah,
there's nothing worse
true.
as a tennis guy. You go out there
and
have somebody hit the ball by you every time, or you're hitting the ball by them. Tennis is really one of those things where you really have to have a level playing field.
That's right. And you will, if you join a club, you certainly will find those people. And then if you get involved in some of these U.S. Tennis Association leagues and club leagues and things like this, which I've done, you do find those people. It is super special when you find that particular rival who, like, on any given Sunday that you play, you don't know who's going to win, and you're going to really, battle. And if you like the guy, that's even better. So.
Well, tell me about the book. The book is Late to the Ball. The author is Jerry Maserati, former editor of the New York Times Magazine and tennis writer for NewYorker.com. You can follow his journey out on Twitter, Marzo Tennis. The book's a couple of weeks old now. What made you go into a room and write a book about this, of all things? Like I said, you write. I mean, you were going to write about something because it's probably like me. Eventually, I'm going to write another book or long essay of some kind when the mood strikes me. But to actually sit down and do it, and then to turn it into a book and sell it to someone that wants to publish it.
Yeah, well, it also was a vehicle for me to write about aging, not just about tennis. It's that you are aware at this stage of your life of that your body is just starting to diminish in certain ways, and it's actually a time to really kind of engage that body one last time before you really can't anymore. Like in your 60s. If you've kept in relatively good shape, you can still do some things with that body. And actually, through this whole tennis regimen, not just learning and playing with my coach for hours a week, but, getting involved in these tennis workouts and all this stuff, I've gotten myself, relatively speaking, in better shape than I've been in any time in my life. It's just, you really have to... to play singles tennis, you really have to be in really good shape. You're out there for 2.5 hours.
How often are you playing these days?
Well, I'll play like 2 or 3 matches a week and then have 2 or 3 sessions with my coach. So a lot of hours.
So you're still being coached regularly?
Yeah. I'm still getting better at certain things. My backhand volley has gotten a lot better over the last 6-7 months. So we work on specific kind of things, and I play at the highest level. I play when I try to actually enter these big tournaments. I play doubles more than singles now because it just takes longer for my body to recover if I'm playing singles, and especially if I'm playing on a hard court. I've got arthritis in both knees. So it takes its toll.
Well, for you, good luck with the book, man. It's it's always an endeavor to do a book, and when you do it about something you're passionate about, it makes it even more fun. Good luck out on the courts this summer. I've been to the French, I've been to the U.S. Make a case for me to go to Wimbledon. I've had a couple of people. I'm not going. I had a decision to try to go this summer. First off, getting the tickets and the expense and all that stuff. But
the problem with Wimbledon is it's become a part of too many people's bucket list. And so even people who really don't know why they're going are going. So, save the money and, take your wife to Paris. I mean, it's
exactly what I'm doing. We're going to see Springsteen in Paris. That's what we're doing.
There you go.
That's what took me to the French Open was Springsteen in Paris. If that was 20 years ago. But, hey, I really appreciate the time. Good luck. The book is
really fun.
Late to the Ball. He is Jerry Maserati, former editor of the New York Times Magazine. Go hit him straight, Jerry. Thanks for coming on, bud.
Thanks for having me on.
Oh, a pleasure. Absolutely. Marzo Tennis is the way to find him. Age, learn, fight, love, play tennis, and win. So there you have it. You can buy that out at Amazon through our Give a Spit app that benefits our friends at There Goes My Hero. You can find me out in the Buy a Toyota Audio Vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world. We'll volley back and forth out on Twitter or Facebook, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, anywhere you are. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore. And we never stop talking Baltimore sports. Welcome back, WNST Towson, Baltimore, and WNST.net. We are into a wild weekend of baseball here, and of course the Stanley Cup in the